As US President Donald Trump prepares for that high-stakes meeting with the Chinese President Xi Jinping later this month, the big question is, what exactly can Washington expect from Beijing? The upcoming meeting will be Trump's first visit to China, remember, in 8 years, and comes at a time when the world's two largest economies are trying to manage the deep trade, technology, and geopolitical tensions, even as they look for areas of possible cooperation. The two sides, in fact, appear to be working towards a broader trade understanding. On the surface, Washington wants Beijing to significantly boost purchases of American goods like soybeans, beef, poultry, even energy products, and Boeing aircraft, reportedly. One of the key proposals on the table is a possible Chinese commitment to buy 25 million metric tons of US soybeans annually for the next 3 years. And there are also reports of a massive Boeing deal under discussion for 500 Boeing 737 MAX jets, along with wide-body aircraft, also reportedly being discussed. This deal that has been stalled for years amid US-China strategic tensions. For Donald Trump, such agreements would offer a major economic and political win in a way ahead of the US midterm elections. But at the same time, China is expected to demand significant concessions in return. China wants the US to ease restrictions on advanced semiconductor exports and chip-making equipment, curbs, remember, that have become central to Washington's efforts to limit China's technological rise as well. At the same time, the US is pushing China to relax controls on rare earth exports and critical minerals. These materials are essential for American automotive, defense, and aerospace industries. But beyond trade, there is a much bigger strategic issue driving these talks. US sanctions on Chinese refiners accused of buying Iranian oil. Washington has recently sanctioned several Chinese refining companies as part of a broader campaign to cut off Iran's oil revenues. And the US has also warned Chinese banks that they could face secondary sanctions if they continue supporting transactions linked to Iranian crude. In fact, the US Treasury Secretary confirmed that letters were sent to Chinese banks warning about the risks of dealing with sanctioned entities, reportedly, and that appears to have triggered a careful balancing act in Beijing. China's Commerce Ministry publicly invoked its 2021 anti-sanctions law. It has notified Chinese companies to disregard certain US restrictions. Reports suggest China's financial regulator quietly asked major banks to halt fresh lending to some of the targeted refiners. And this contradiction from Beijing is significant. On one hand, you see, Beijing is projecting defiance against what it calls unjustified US sanctions. And on the other, it's clearly trying to protect its financial system and major companies from the threat of secondary sanctions that could disrupt their access to the global dollar-based economy. That's the bigger picture, and which is why many analysts believe the upcoming Trump-Xi talks may not just be about trade. For China, the priority could be to reduce pressure on its banks, refiners, technology sector. And for the United States, the aim is to secure economic concessions while maintaining strategic leverage over both China and Iran. So as Donald Trump heads to China, he is likely to find a Beijing that is willing to talk deals, but also one that is trying to navigate a growing sanctions battle with Washington. And that could make this one of the most important US-China meetings in years. To stay up to speed with the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.